Hi everybody. We have a listing, like a clump almost, of survey totals. So if you can imagine, surveys that you get like at the end of a seminar or some training session, whatever you're doing, and you're handing out these surveys, and they have in them maybe, let's say, 20 questions, and each question, ranks from like a 1 to a 5, 5 being, the best. So imagine taking all these surveys that you've handed out, you've collected them, all that, and you've put each of the survey totals. You've added up the numbers in each of the surveys, and that's what you're seeing here. All right? What we want to do now is figure out how many of these surveys are 10 or less and scored. All right? In other words, if we look through here, we could find, oh, there's a 10, not many, but there's a few out there. Same thing, how many are 20 or less down to 11? How many are 30 or less down to 21? So what you do when you're setting this up is you put your data in here. This is what we call the data array. And then over here we put our bins, our bin ranges, all right? And then this would be the bin area here. So what happens is we're going to put a formula in here that will then say, okay, how many are 10 or less? Look through there and add up that number. And I don't mean add up the numbers, but just add up how many there are and put that count over here. Okay, so pretty straightforward. Now you can do this using also the COUNTIFs, but you'd have to do a different COUNTIF for each one of these bins, all right? That takes some time. And if you had even more of these things, it would take even more time. This feature that I'm about to show you using the frequency function will take you maybe, I don't know, 20 seconds to do on a bad day. So it's pretty easy to kind of set up. So without further ado, let's try this. Now the trick to this is what we call an array type function. So it's set up a little bit differently than a regular function would be. You normally would say that you'd put the formula in here, and then when you got done entering it in, you'd go back and copy it down. But not with arrays. What you do with this is you select all of the cells that you ultimately will have that formula in, get them selected ahead of time. All right? Then what we're going to do is type in the function formula. So we're going to type in equal FR. You'll see frequency pop up there, so we'll do a double click on that. The table or the data array is going to be this information here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to select that whole range there. We don't have to worry about making it absolute. That's all set up in the fact that the formula is going to go in all at once. And it's not going to really copy down, it's just going to go all in once. So no need for any type of absolute. Then you put a comma in there. Then it wants to know where your bins array is. Okay, well that's going to be, these are kind of like the bins. All right, so we can't do it from the top, so I'm just going to start from the bottom and just work my way up to row 4 there. Close up my parenthesis now. So far the thing that we did out of the ordinary was we selected all the cells that we want to put the formula in ahead of time, right? Once you're done with the formula, instead of just hitting the enter key by itself, you're going to hold down the shift key and the control key, and while you're holding down those two keys, hit the enter key. And there you go. I mean, that's pretty wild, but that's what happens. But again, what I just showed you there takes the place of putting a SUMIFS here, a SUMIFS here, a SUMIFS here. I mean, on all these. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you can do the SUMIFs and copy it down. The problem is, well, this one here would be a SUMIF, but from here it would be SUMIFS. You could copy it down, but you'd have to change the range, that you're trying to count at. All right. And you have to change it for each one of those. It'd be crazy. I mean, here's what it would look like. So now, if you were going to want to do this with the SUMIFs, and I'll start with the second one here. What you'd have to do is, now think about this. Think about the time we just spent doing the frequency, how long it took. It took nothing, right? Now watch this. We'd have to do an equal. We'd have to do a sum, and we'd have to go to sum if, or not, or I'm sorry, not sum ifs, I'm sorry. We have to do count. Sorry about that. So count ifs, all right? And we'd have to say, look at this range, all right? We would have to F4 it to make it absolute, comma, and say in that range, in quotation marks, we'd say less than or equal to 20, right? And then comma, and then we'd, oh, I'm sorry, put our quotation marks in there, comma, and then I'd have to do another selection of the range, F4 it, comma, okay, and then in quotation marks, greater than or equal to 11, all right? Have to do that. Now, you enter that in, there it is, there's a 24. Wow, okay, so it took me longer to do that than to do the whole thing with the frequency, but I'm just showing you your alternative here. I can then take this formula and copy it down, all right? And then on each of these, modify it. So on this one here, I'd have to say, okay, now I want to take what? Well, I need to change the 20 over here to a 30, and I need to change the 11 to a 21, right? And on this one here, I have to change now the what? Before we had the 20, so now we're going to make it 40, right? So that would be 40, and then this would have to be 31, right? I mean, on and on. I mean, it's crazy to do that. So again, that frequency function is definitely the way to go, everybody. So hopefully you can use this with some of your work that you're doing, and I really appreciate you watching the video. Take care.